Physician group begged for help with emergency rooms flooded by children in psychiatric crisis. It's crazy. I mean, I see this a lot in my practice. I work with a lot of kids that's struggling with mental health issues. I think a lot of it has to do with society and how society has been corrupted with this woke stuff, and it's ruining children. All this stuff is ruining children, and nobody is really speaking to it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Emergency room doctors and pediatricians are pleading for help with the flood of children and teenagers showing up at emergency rooms due to mental health issues. Now, I get so many referrals from kids that's been in emergency rooms and they're looking for outpatient therapy or they're looking for intensive outpatient therapy. And I mean, I get a flood of them. I'm not. Let's just say I'm not struggling looking for work because it is so huge what's going on with kids that's in crisis right now. Again, and I believe it's because of society. I believe it's because of the woke stuff that they're pushing on the kids. They don't know how to handle this. I mean, you got to remember, a lot of these kids are developing. Their brains are still developing. They don't really understand things. They already have identity issues because of their development. That's what it is when you growing as a kid. But then you throw this woke stuff on top of it and tell them they can choose whatever gender they want to choose and put all these pressures on these kids. Of course, they're gonna be confused and struggle with mental health issues. But a surge of mental health emergencies among children have overwhelmed emergency rooms, according to a joint paper released Wednesday by the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, American College of Emergency Physicians, ACEP, and Emergency Nurses Associations, ENA. The children showing up in crisis are often suffering from emergencies related to anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts or attempts, the group said. Quote, the ER has become a de facto referral center for all these problems, and there's too many of them for the emergency department to manage, said lead author Dr. Mohsen Sanijad. Sorry if I destroyed his name, but he directs a pediatric emergency medicine at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Sanidajad is also a member of the AAP and ACEP committees on pediatric emergency. Um, Quote, that is not who we are as ER physicians. We are not mental health professionals. We cannot provide definitive care, Sadidajad said. About 500,000 children with mental or behavioral health problems show up at emergency rooms each year, according to the joint paper. That number was already rising before the pandemic, but the pandemic exacerbated the crisis, the physician group said. One issue emergency rooms encounter is that pediatric mental health crises tend to be very complex and require much longer hospital stays. The average pediatric mental health stay is 17 hours compared to an average 5 hours for emergency room stays, according to the paper. That's because if the kid seems suicidal, you know, they want to keep them overnight to make sure that they don't harm themselves or harm other people. So they keep them overnight. So that's why the stay tends to be longer. But the pediatric mental emergency visits also drain, quote, resources that would have been needed to run the normal medical operations or the ER, so that increases of length of stay for the other patients as well, Sadidajad said. Another issue is that children who arrive at the emergency rooms in crisis are less likely to get the follow-up care they need if they only go to an emergency room rather than a psychiatric crisis center or community mental health center, according to Sanidajad. The physician groups also calling for several measures to address the crisis. One measure is community-based teams that could respond to children in crisis at school, in doctors' offices, and even at their homes. Another measure is placing pediatric mental health professionals in emergency departments. Another aid, said the group, suggested it is supporting emergency department staff with information about high risk children, such as abuse victims and post traumatic stress disorder. And that is something I see a lot in my practice as well. But the country's mental health system needs to be expanded as well. Paper's authors said there's only one mental health professional for every 124,000 children. Um, and as many as 55,000 of all counties do not have even one psychiatric professional, Sadida Jha said. Telehealth for children mental health could also help in treating children before they land in an emergency room, the author said. And I do a lot of telehealth in my practice. The problem is some kids though really need the face to face. Some kids telehealth is really not for them. I've also seen in my practice. But quote, we in the ER are basically a safety net. We can't say no to anything. We have to accept whatever comes our way. And I think that is why everybody is referring these children to the ER, Sadida Jad said. So if you know someone that's suffering from mental health issues, get them help. There are many places online that offer online therapy. Please get them the help they need. I really do feel for a lot of these children that's struggling and have nowhere to go. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.